Oh boy, I wish I had a diagram. Welcome to Robert's British Cars. This is part 3 in the series, the restoration of the 1952 MGTD. Now, if you're not familiar with Robert's British Cars, what I do is I go around looking for neglected British sports cars. Cars that are abandoned, have been sitting in the garage for years, someone else's project, basically cars that need a little love. This 1952 MGTD not only needs a little love, it needs to be put back together. I bought it as a naked frame and boxes of parts. Today, we're going to try to put the hydraulic system, also known as the brake lines, onto the car. We're going to start with the master cylinder. Not this master cylinder, this is the original one. We're going to put on a brand new one. Let's get started. I'm going to install the master cylinder. It goes here, and these are the bolts, and I don't think it's going to hurt anything if I just put a real thin coating of grease on the bolts. That's just going to keep them, I think, less likely to rust in there, because this part is exposed to the road dirt and the rain. And as we all know, this car is going to probably end up being driven in the rain every day, right? Okay, well, that just goes like that. And we put in one bolt and put in the other bolt. Snug them up. And there you go. So now that we have the master cylinder installed, let's see what we have to work with here. As we look at the parts here, we got little junctions and splitters, and we have brake lines, and these brake lines are all at a different length. We also have the little clips that hold the brake lines to the body of the car. Again, these were brand new. I didn't buy these. They came with the boxes. Of course, some of these hold the brake lines in place, some of them hold the wiring harness, and some of them will hold the fuel line. We have to figure out which is which. The first thing I'm going to try to do here is get these different pieces of brake line laid out as to where I think they go. Now, if you order one of these kits from Moss or somebody, here's a good example. They have these little labels on them with numbers. This one is number 3, okay? In the box that these come in, there's a sheet that tells you number 3 goes from here to there. I don't have that sheet, so I'm just gonna lay them out and take my best guess. I'm gonna start out with the 2 shortest pieces. The shortest piece, I think, is gonna go from the master cylinder to the 4-way. So I'm going to just put that there for now. The second longest, or the second shortest piece is going to go from this 3-way to this brake line, rubber line. This piece is pretty easy because it's got this brake line on it that goes here. So if this ends up going like this, this is probably going to end up going to that wheel, so I'm going to put that there for now. This one also looks pretty straightforward because it's got this bend in it, so I'm going to put that one to this back wheel. This one, I'm going to just guess, is going to go from this 3-way to this front wheel, so I'll just lay that, hopefully lay that there. This is the second longest one, so I'm going to guess that this is going to go from this 4-way to the front of the car. The last piece I have up here is the longest piece, and I'm not exactly sure which end goes where, but it's going to go from that 4-way to the rear flexible hose. Now what have we got left here? This is the brake light switch. I'll put that there because right here is a brand new brake light switch. So we're just going to put that off to the side for a minute. This is the only four-way, okay? So I have a brake line that goes in there, there, and there. This thread is different, so that must be where the brake switch goes, okay? We have to find where this goes. I have one, two, three ways. Here's a moment I'd like to share with everyone. There's only one four-way, and like I said, that's the one that has the brake switch in it, okay? What all of these have in common is that they all have a bolt that goes in the end that holds them to the frame, except this one. You know why? Because I can't find it. That's one of those little missing parts. So now I'm going to spend the next couple hours going through my boxes of bolts, looking for the Whitworth bolts, and then looking for one that's going to fit that thread. I'll be back in a while. Well, I found the bolts I need and the washers. I took the rust off of them, and now I just gave them a little bit of paint. I found that if I don't paint the bolts and put them on the car, they're going to rust real quick. So while I'm waiting for this paint to dry, let's go look at those clips. These clips are what hold the brake lines and the wiring harness, okay? They'll also hold the fuel line. I don't know where these go or how many of them go in what place. However, I did find some help. These are my two MGT series workshop manuals, Restoration and Workshop Manual. Upon consulting them, guess what I found inside? Illustrations. This illustration pretty much shows me where the junctions go. And if we look closely, I can see approximately how the brake lines run. You know, I spent all that time looking for the Whitworth bolt that goes in the three-way. This is a three-way that came with the car. It's not a new one. This is a new one. It's got a bolt in it. There's my missing bolt. I didn't need to go looking for an hour to try to find a Whitworth bolt. It was already in the three-way. Working on old cars. The first thing I'm going to do is install this flexible hose from there to there. Well, we're going to put this bolt through the hole and put the fitting on top. This is not brain surgery. And this is a 1/4 Whitworth. And I am just going to snug it because I'm going to have to move it to line up the brake lines, okay? This is pretty straightforward. The hose goes in this way. We pick up the little star washer we just dropped. That goes on there. And then the nut holds everything in place. We'll tighten that up with a 3/8 Whitworth on the inside and a 1/2 inch Whitworth on the outside. And there you go. Now I'm going to put on the four-way that's in the middle. And finally, we'll put the three-way on the front. And this will be, of course, coming from the splitter, coming from the four-way, and then going to each front wheel, right and left. I think the time has come to give some attention to these clips. There's a lot of holes in the frame here for those clips. Which clips go in which holes, and what do they hold? Well, one thing I know for sure, on this side of the car, which is the left side of the car, which happens to be where the steering wheel is, I'm going to have brake lines and the loom for the wiring harness. On this side of the car, I'm going to have the fuel line because the carburetors are on the right. On the right side of the car, I'm going to put clips to hold the fuel line. According to our diagram here for the fuel line, it says 6 clips fixed to inside of chassis rail at lower edge. Oh, wait a minute. Mark 2, 5 clips fixed to the upper edge. So I'm going to go put 5 clips in the upper edge. So I'm trying to come up with some way to illustrate where these clips go. This is what I came up with. Looking at our diagram here, I will read for the brake lines, 5 clips fixed to holes on inside of chassis toward the top. 1 P-clip fixed to shock absorber mounting bolt. That one was easy. There's the shock mounting bolt. There's the P-clip. As far as the 5 clips going from front to back, here's what I got. That's clip number 1. That's clip number 2. And that is their relationship to the rest of the car. That is clip number 3, number 4, and number 5. And that's where they live. This is the part that messes me up. The 8 clips fixed into holes on lower edge of inside of chassis frame. Okay? There is the lower edge of the inside of the chassis frame. There should be 8 of those. I'm just going to try to do this from a distance. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is right there. Guess what? I'm out of holes. As we go back to our diagram, what do we notice? That is the pedal box. That is on the right side of the car. So this diagram is for right-hand drive. So I may not have all the holes in the right place according to this diagram. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to not worry about clips in the front until I put the wiring loom in. If necessary, I can drill a hole in the frame because I have a couple of clips left. Well, with all the clips in place, hopefully, let's see if we can hook up some brake lines. The first brake line I'm going to go for is from the master cylinder to the 4-way. Well, we have to run a line from the master cylinder there to the 4-way here. And it just so happens that I have this piece that is bent like this. One note, I just went over it with steel wool so it would look nice and shiny. So let's see how this is going to work. If we put that there and this here, well, that looks like a pretty good fit. Brake line number 1 is installed. Now, just as a point of reference, I snug these up. I don't make them really tight because I don't want to crush this brake line any more than is necessary. After I put fluid in here and I try to bleed the brakes, if anything is leaking, then I got room to snug them up some more. Let's do the back one now. We get to use our clips from this one. It's going to go from that 4-way inside the rail, under the shock absorber, and it's going to go in to the hose right there. So as I'm trying to fit the long line in, I have it going into the 4-way in a couple of clips, but when I get back here to the rubber hose, it seems a little long. So what I'm going to do is see where it comes out if I put it under this cross tube. Okay, here we are with the long line in the 4-way, in the clips, coming back here, going under this cross tube to the shock bolt, which I don't have the P connector on yet, but it looks a lot closer to lining up to the rubber hose. So I'm going to work it into position going under the tube. I have the brake line attached at both ends. Now we're going to try to put the P-clip on. Okay. Lock washer. Nut. Now I'll snug it up. There's the long brake line, seems to be in place. I just wanted to point out that even though our brake line is running under the tube, there's enough room under here for the wiring loom, I hope. And there you have, the long brake line is in place. This one goes from the three-way by the differential to the left rear wheel. I bent it up pretty good. We'll see if it fits. It hooked up real nice. That brake line is in, and I've got one strap hole down here, and I've got another strap hole down here, and of course I'll tighten everything up once we get done. Now we're going to try the other wheel. So what I did here is I attached the brake line to the three-way, and I attached the brake line to the master cylinder, and then I kind of massaged it into place following the contour of the axle all the way back over here. Now right here, there's a little hole, and I'm going to put that bolt with that tie down on this brake line here. I'm going to put a strap here, and I'm going to put a strap here. One other thing I wanted to point out is when I attach these fittings, I put them all in by hand. They're all hand tight, finger tight when I put them in. I don't want to put them in using a wrench, because if you can't turn them in all the way by hand, they're not straight, and you don't want to strip these threads. So all of these little fittings I tighten up by hand. And there we have the back half of the braking system attached all the way up to that four-way. Speaking of the four-way, let's put our new brake light switch in here. When we look at the front brake line that goes from that three-way splitter to this four-way splitter, this is going to go in there. The brake line does not go under the tube. That's where the wiring harness goes. The brake line is going to go through here, right to here, above the tube. Well, we've got the other end in. Now, I got to get my tape off of here, which I suppose I could have done a better job of putting it on, right? Now we just have to put that in there. With our fingers. With the ends in position, now I just have to try to massage the rest of it into position. There's that one, and there, in the clip. Okay, we'll call that one done. Okay, now I'm going to try to put the brake line in for the left front wheel. And if I put that end into the three-way and follow it over to the hose, well, looks like I put that hose in wrong, like I've never made a mistake before. So when you put the brake line from the wheel to the body of the car, the hose goes in facing downward. Let's remedy that. Well, we're going to take that off using our 3/8 Whitworth here, and I believe it's my 1/2 Whitworth here. And so here I am putting this fitting in finger tight. Okay, we have this end in. So now the left front wheel is going to get fluid. One more to go. I thought I found this rather interesting. You see, I need to put this brake line from here under the frame to here. And here is the brake line, right? This is the way this brake line came out of the box. I didn't bend it. So if I turn it around like this with one hand, and I put this end up here like this, and bring this over here, look how close this bend is to just lining up. That sure makes this a lot easier. So I'm going to attach those two ends, massage that into place, and these brake lines are going to be done. Well, we have brand new brake lines installed in our nicely powder-coated TD frame. The next thing I would normally do is put in the wiring harness, but I don't have the wiring harness yet. It's coming, hopefully. In the meantime, I'm going to put in the brake pedal and the clutch pedal. I'm going to adjust the brakes, and then I'm going to bleed the system. Then I think I'll put the body on the car. Now, I know this is the part of the show where we do how much have I spent so far? Well, to put the brake lines in, it didn't cost me anything because all the parts came when I bought the car. So I'm still at $7,428.60. And again, I've got plenty to keep me busy. So if you want to subscribe to Robert's British Cars, please do so and follow along with the restoration of this 1952 MGTD. It's going to be a beauty if I get it done. With that being said, I'll see you next time.